The wounded beast. The sky tore open like a wound in the air. A burning streak cut across the clouds and slammed into the forest with a deep, shaking boom. Birds screamed. Trees caught fire. Animals ran. Something not from this world had crashed to Earth. Not far from the crash, a man named Eli was working on his small farm. He paused. The sound was different from thunder. It was heavier, closer. He grabbed his flashlight and first aid kit, an old habit from his medic days. Then he followed the smoke rising from the trees. Eli moved carefully. The forest was dark and full of ash. Broken branches lay everywhere. He could hear a soft buzzing sound, like dying electricity. Then he saw it. A metallic pod, half buried in the ground, hissed with steam. It had glowing symbols and deep scratches on its surface. This was no satellite. It was something alien. Near the pod lay a figure, tall, sharp, and strange. It was a girl, or at least she looked like one. Her skin was a deep violet blue, glowing slightly. Her armor was cracked and her left arm was bleeding a dark green liquid. She had long white hair tangled with wires and leaves. Her eyes were shut, her breathing shallow. Eli stepped forward, stunned. She looked dangerous, like a weapon made alive. Then her eyes snapped open. They were golden, sharp like a hawk's, and full of rage. In a blink, she was on her feet. Despite the wound, she moved fast. Before Eli could speak, she grabbed his throat and slammed him against a tree. Eli gasped. Her grip was iron. She was strong. Too strong. The alien girl growled, her voice a mix of pain and warning. She said something in a language he didn't understand. Her face was twisted in anger. And fear. Eli didn't fight. He slowly raised one hand and pointed to the medkit still in his other. "I'm here to help," he said softly. She didn't loosen her grip. "I can stop the bleeding," he said, coughing. "You're hurt." Her eyes studied his. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then her strength gave out. Her knees buckled and she collapsed. Eli caught her before she hit the ground. He laid her down gently on a patch of grass. Her wound was serious. A deep cut near her ribs. Green blood flowed, thick and hot. Her breathing was fast, almost like a wounded animal. Eli opened his med kit, grabbed gloves, and reached for her, but as soon as her blood touched his skin, it burned. Ah. Eli pulled his hand back. Even through gloves, it was like acid. He wiped it off fast, his heart racing. He had to find a way to treat her without touching the blood. He used tools instead. Forceps, gauze, and a spray antiseptic. It wasn't perfect, but it slowed the bleeding. As he worked, she twitched and groaned. She was alive. Just barely. Night fell. The forest grew quiet. The crash site still sizzled, with sparks. Eli built a small fire nearby, not too close. He didn't want to frighten her. He looked at her again. She didn't look fierce anymore. She looked lost. Her face was young, maybe his age, or a little younger. Her lips moved slightly, whispering something in her own language. Her fingers curled into fists as if holding on to something in a dream. Eli didn't know who she was. He didn't know if more of her kind were coming. But right now she wasn't a threat. She was hurt. Alone. And he couldn't leave her. He took off his jacket and placed it gently over her. She didn't wake. The stars above sparkled through the broken trees. Somewhere in the distance, wolves howled, but none came near. Eli sat with his back to a rock, holding his burnt hand, watching her. She was the most dangerous creature he'd ever seen, but she was also someone who needed help. He whispered to himself, "What the hell have I gotten into?" Hook ending. Suddenly she stirred. Her eyes opened again, but this time they were soft. She looked at Eli, confused. Then she whispered, a word, just one. It sounded like a name, maybe hers. But the moment she spoke, Eli's old military translator watch beeped. and began to decode her language. The reluctant rescue. The fire crackled softly as the stars shifted above the trees. Eli didn't sleep. He couldn't. Every few minutes he glanced at the strange alien girl lying beside the crash. Her breathing was still fast but more steady now. He checked his translator watch. It had decoded only one word so far. Thyra. He whispered it. Thyra. Is that your name? She didn't answer, but her head moved slightly. A soft twitch. Maybe she heard him. Eli stood slowly and brought a bottle of water from his pack. Carefully, he knelt beside her. Here, he said. Drink something. She didn't move. He opened the bottle and dipped a cloth inside. He touched it lightly to her lips. Her eyes opened fast and sharp like lightning, but this time she didn't attack. She just stared. Golden eyes full of pain and confusion. Eli gave a calm smile. I'm not your enemy. She blinked once, then looked at the cloth. Slowly, very slowly, she opened her mouth. He let the drops fall in. She drank, just a little, then turned her head away. It wasn't trust, but it wasn't rejection either. As morning broke, birds returned. Smoke still hung in the trees. Eli checked her wound. It had stopped bleeding, but the tissue around it looked strange, almost pulsing. He couldn't tell if that was normal for her species. I need to clean it again, he muttered. He reached for his kit, but before he could open it, a low growl filled the air. Thyra had sat up. Her body was trembling, but her hand was on her side, where a sharp curved blade had been hidden beneath her armor. Eli froze. She aimed the blade at him. He raised both hands. Easy. You don't need that. Her voice was rough, broken. Why? Help me. Her words were slow, filtered through the translator. Eli thought for a moment. Because I saw you fall. You would have died. That's not something I can ignore. She stared at him. You are not warrior. You smell soft. Eli smirked. I'm a medic. I fix things. Thyra's eyes narrowed. Your kindness is suspicious. That's fair, he said with a nod. But it's real. A long silence passed. Then, she dropped the blade. Not far, just on the ground beside her. But it was a beginning. Eli worked again, this time while she watched. He didn't touch her skin. He used tools and water to clean the injury, re-wrap it and recheck her vitals. Thyra sat still, tense like a wild animal, but her eyes never left him. Once she flinched as the spray hissed over her ribs. He paused. Too cold? She looked confused. You ask if I feel? Eli nodded. Pain means you're alive. She looked away. Better if I was dead. Eli frowned. Don't say that. She growled, but it sounded weaker than before. Later that afternoon, she tried to stand. She took one step and collapsed. Eli ran to catch her again. This time she didn't fight. Her arms hung loose. Her head rested against his chest for a moment. She whispered something again. The translator paused, then spoke. I should not be alive. Eli answered, holding her steady. Maybe, but you are. And now it's up to you what to do with that. Hook, ending. That night, while Eli slept beside the fire, Thyra sat alone under the stars. Her glowing eyes stared at the sky, her broken ship, her wounded body, and the strange human who didn't run. Then she whispered something else. The translator beeped. He's not what they told me humans were. But just then, a shadow moved deep in the trees. Something, or someone, was watching them. The unspoken bond morning light slipped through the trees like golden threads. The fire was cold. The ship still hissed softly. But something had changed. Thyra was awake. She sat on a large stone near the crash, her white hair messy and tangled. her body wrapped in a blanket Eli had given her. Her alien armor lay nearby, scarred, torn, and smoking at the edges. She said nothing. Eli didn't push her. He simply sat a few feet away, sipping warm water, keeping his distance. He had learned something important the night before. She didn't trust easily, and she didn't need words. Eli glanced at her wound. It was closing fast, not human healing. Her body was doing something strange. Glowing veins, light pulses under her skin. Impressive, he said softly. Thyra raised one brow. My body repairs. I don't need soft hands. I didn't say you did. She looked at him sharply. He held up both hands. But you didn't stop me either. She looked away. That was her answer. Midday came quietly. A bird landed near them. Thyra tensed, ready to strike. But the bird simply hopped and pecked at seeds. Harmless. Eli smiled. That's a robin, not a threat. Thyra stared at it. You live with prey animals? Sometimes. We protect what we can. She watched the bird silent. Then softly, weak. Eli shook his head. No, just peaceful. There's a difference. Later, Eli offered her food, a protein bar, some fruit. Thyra sniffed it. This smells like plastic. It kind of is, he chuckled. But it's safe, I promise. She took it reluctantly. A small bite. Then a second. No poison. Just taste. She didn't smile, but she didn't stop eating either. As the sun began to lower, Eli cleaned up the camp. He looked back at her, still seated, still quiet. Then he saw something odd. Her eyes were fixed on his left arm. The sleeve was rolled up. A scar ran along his skin, deep, old, and ugly. Thyra slowly stood. She limped toward him. Without a word, she pointed at the scar. Eli looked down. Battle wound. She looked into his eyes. Like mine? He nodded. I lost people. Years ago. She touched her own side where the green scar still glowed. Same, lost everything. They didn't speak for a while. They didn't need to. Something passed between them. A quiet understanding. Not as enemies, not as strangers, but as survivors. That night, the campfire glowed gently. Thyra sat beside it now. Not close, but not far. Eli showed her a small device, a solar-powered screen with photos, memories. That's my brother, he said. He was a pilot. Like you, maybe. She looked at the image carefully. Your kind. Keep the dead in boxes. They're memories, Eli explained. To remember who we were. Thyra was silent again, then whispered, I remember them. Every night. I hear them scream. Eli didn't know what to say, so he just sat with her, in silence. Sometimes, silence said everything. Hook ending. Just as the fire began to fade, Thyra leaned closer. Her golden eyes reflected the flames. I was trained to kill humans, she said softly. Told you were beasts. Eli looked at her calmly. And now, she didn't answer. But the next moment a low growl echoed from the woods. Thyra stood up fast. Her hand reached for the blade. Eli followed her eyes. Something was moving in the darkness, big, fast, and not human. The name she hid. The sound in. The trees grew louder. Eli grabbed a metal rod from the fire pit, his heart racing. Thyra was already moving, limping but fast. She stood in front of him, blade raised, her glowing eyes scanning the forest. Leaves rustled. Branches bent. Then, silence. A pair of glowing red eyes blinked from the shadows, then vanished. Whatever it was. It wasn't ready to fight. Eli let out a breath. What was that? Thyra didn't answer. She just stared into the woods. Something followed us, she finally said. Maybe from my ship. Eli turned to her. A rescue team? She looked at him coldly. My people don't rescue. They erase. That night, Thyra didn't sleep. She stood guard like a statue while Eli dozed off by the fire. Before dawn, she moved silently to the crashed pod. Its front was still cracked, open, its power flickering. She placed her palm on the surface. The ship responded, blue light scanning her skin. A hologram appeared. It showed her file. Rank, Elite Hunter. Status, terminated. She stared at it. They had marked her as expendable. Thyra turned away, chest heavy. She hadn't just been left behind. She'd been erased. Eli woke to find her sitting by the ship, staring at the dirt. He walked over slowly. You, okay? She didn't look up. I was a hunter, top of my unit. You're still alive, he said. She scoffed. That's the problem. I failed the mission. I lived. They won't allow that. Eli sat beside her. You said your people erase survivors? Thyra nodded. They fear weakness. I became weak. Or maybe you became something else. She looked at him, unsure what that meant. After a while, Eli asked gently, You told me your name, Thyra. What does it mean? She hesitated. Then she answered, voice quiet. It's not my real name. It was assigned. In training, names were taken. We were numbers. Eli leaned in. What was your real name? She looked up at the stars, something ancient in her expression. Then she whispered, Sayonara. The translator watch didn't translate it. Eli smiled softly. It's beautiful. No, she said sharply. It's forgotten. It died long ago. But it's still in you, he replied. If you remember it, it means it's not gone. She looked at him, confused, almost angry. Then her face softened. I don't understand humans, she said. Good. Eli smiled. We don't either. Later that day, Thyra helped him build a signal tower using parts from her pod and Earth tech. She didn't say why, but Eli saw it in her face. She was preparing for something. Are you trying to contact your people? He asked. No, she said. I'm waiting for them to find me. He looked at her. To kill you? She nodded. Eli placed a hand on her shoulder. This time, she didn't pull away. You're not alone anymore, he said. She turned to him, stunned. It had been a long time since anyone stood beside her without fear. Hook ending. That evening, as the sun dipped below the trees, Thyra sat near the fire. For the first time, she reached into her armor and pulled out a tiny object, a shard of dark crystal, glowing softly. She stared at it, then whispered, This holds my orders. One of them said, If I ever met a human, I must destroy them. She looked across, the fire at Eli, but you fixed me. She crushed the crystal in her palm and let the ashes fall into the flame. The warrior and the wound days passed. Thyra no longer guarded her food or flinched at every sound. She walked more, spoke more, but always in short, sharp sentences. Her armor now lay folded beside Eli's tent, untouched. She had stopped wearing it, but she hadn't stopped watching. Her hunter instincts never slept. That morning, Eli showed her how to mend a fence near the edge of the woods the goats had broken through again. You use rope to trap wood? She asked, puzzled. Not trap. Tie. It keeps them safe. Your animals escape, and you protect them? Yeah, Eli said, smiling. Even when they're dumb. Thyra gave a tiny laugh. Just one breath. It surprised them both. Later, while collecting clean water from the stream, Eli slipped on the rocks. He let out a small yelp as his foot twisted. Thyra was there in seconds, faster than she should have moved. She helped him sit, holding his arm tightly. You're bleeding, she said flatly. Eli winced. Just a scrape. She looked at the cut on his knee. For a moment, her hand hovered over it, unsure. Then she reached into her belt and pulled out a vial of thick silver gel. Alien tech. She applied it gently. The wound sizzled and healed in seconds. Eli stared. Why didn't you use that on yourself? She stood. Didn't trust you yet. He smiled. And now? She didn't answer, but she handed him the vial. That night, the air turned cold. They sat near the fire in silence. Eli roasted vegetables on a stick. Thyra watched the flames, eyes unfocused. Finally, she asked, "What happens when you're not a weapon anymore?" Eli looked at her. "You choose what you become." She nodded slowly, almost like she understood, but deep inside she didn't. At midnight, the storm came. Wind tore through the trees, thunder cracked the sky, rain hit like falling glass. Eli rushed to cover the supplies, but a massive tree creaked nearby. Thyra's eyes went wide. "Move!" she shouted, and threw herself at him. The tree snapped and crashed down, missing them by inches. But a branch struck Thyra's shoulder, hard. She cried out and collapsed. Eli dragged her back under cover, heart pounding. Her shoulder was bent, the wrong way, dislocated or worse. "You saved me," he whispered. She grit her teeth. "Instinct." "No," he said firmly. "You chose to." He started to treat the wound, but this time she didn't protest. She gripped his arm tightly, using his shoulder as support while he adjusted hers back into place. She didn't scream. She just stared at him, breathing hard, in pain, but silent. "You're not weak," Eli said. "You're just learning something new." She whispered, "Pain feels different when it's for someone else." Later, as the storm raged outside, Eli covered her with blankets and sat nearby, watching her rest. The alien warrior, the hunter of men, now lay still, protected by a human, and she let it happen. Hook ending, outside the camp in the shadowed trees. Something clicked. Not thunder. A metal boot. A red light blinked once, then vanished. She wasn't the only alien on Earth anymore, and the next visitor wasn't, coming to be healed. The gentle flame Thyra's shoulder still ached, but her steps were steady now. She no longer walked like a predator, more like someone carrying invisible weight. Each morning, Eli noticed it. The sharp lines on her face had softened. She still said little, but her silence no longer felt threatening. It felt thoughtful. That morning, Eli found her crouched near the chicken coop, staring at a small yellow chick. The bird chirped once and hopped onto her hand. Thyra flinched, but didn't move away. She held the chick like it was made of glass. "This creature, it trusts without fear," she whispered. Eli smiled. "Not everything needs armor." She looked up. "How did your species survive being this soft?" Eli laughed. "By learning when to be gentle and when not to." She nodded slowly. "A strange strength." Later they worked together. She helped him gather wood, fix tools, and feed the goats. When one goat bit her sleeve, she stepped back confused. Eli laughed. "That one thinks your armor is food." Thyra stared at the goat, then did something unexpected. She smiled. Just a little. Her fingers brushed the goat's head. It was the first time she had touched another living thing without gloves, without caution. That night after dinner, Eli handed her something wrapped in cloth. She opened it. It was a necklace, simple, handmade, with a glowing stone in the middle. "I found the crystal near your crash," Eli said. "Figured you'd want to keep part of your ship. Something old made into something new." Thyra stared at it. "This is a human ritual?" "Not a ritual," he chuckled. "Just a gift." Her voice dropped. "No one's ever given me anything. Now someone has." She placed the necklace around her neck. It glowed faintly, like her eyes used to when they were full of rage. Now they were just full of light. Later that night, rain returned. Not a storm, just soft, quiet drops. Thyra stood under it, face tilted to the sky. Your world is beautiful. Eli joined her. So are you when you're not trying to stab me. She laughed, really laughed. Not a warrior's bark, a real human laugh. She looked at him seriously now. I don't understand you. That's okay, he said. You're not here to understand, you're here to live. Her voice grew quiet. What if my people come for me? Then we deal with it together. You'd fight for me? No, Eli replied. I'd stand with you. That's different. Hook ending. Before she could respond, a strange tone buzzed in the air. Thyra froze. Her eyes widened. She pulled the necklace off and crushed the glowing stone. Ignition beacon, she said. What does that mean? Eli asked. She turned to him, voice hard again. It means someone heard it and they're already here. Far in the trees, a red lens blinked, and this time, it didn't disappear. The choice she made. They came just before sunrise. 3 shadows dropped from the sky, armored figures tall and silent, moving like ghosts. Thyra knew them by the way they landed. Elite reclaimers. She stepped forward before Eli could speak. They're not here to talk, they're here to erase. Eli grabbed his old rifle from the shed. Then we protect what's here. Thyra put a hand on the barrel. No, you won't survive them. And you will? She looked him in the eye. I don't know, but I won't let them hurt you. The aliens moved in fast, weapons drawn, red energy humming. One spoke in their native tongue. Thyra understood every word. Target located. Orders unchanged. Neutralize. Human contact is contamination. She stepped between them and Eli. I am not your target anymore. You are broken, the leader said coldly. Your file was clear, destroyed on impact. I survived. Then you failed. Thyra raised her blade, not to attack, to drop it. I don't need this to fight anymore. The other 2 soldiers looked at each other, confused. The leader aimed his weapon. Step aside, or be erased with the human. Eli stood beside her now. I'm not moving, he said. She's not yours anymore. The alien's weapon charged. For one heartbeat, everything froze. The birds stopped singing. The wind held its breath. Then, Thyra leapt, but not to kill. She activated a flash beacon, blinding them for 3 seconds, just enough time. She tackled Eli, rolled him behind cover, and turned to face her own kind. They fired. She didn't run. She stood in the open, arms wide, no blade, no shield, just her voice. I choose my own life. The leader hesitated. That wasn't in the orders. Stand down, Thyra said again, louder. I'm not your weapon, I'm not your shame. Then, something impossible happened. The other 2 soldiers lowered their rifles. The leader screamed in fury. She's corrupted, but he was alone now. He aimed, and got hit by a shock pulse from behind one of his own. He fell. Silence returned. Thyra turned to Eli. They won't come again. Not after this. He stared at her, amazed. You just made them back off. She smiled, tired but proud. Maybe they saw what I finally saw. What's that? She looked at his hand and gently held it. A different kind of strength. Later that day, the remaining soldiers left silently, taking their wounded commander with them. No threats, no promises, just quiet defeat. Thyra and Eli stood at the edge of the forest watching the sky. She wore no armor now, only the necklace he had made. You could still go with them, Eli said softly. I already did that once. She replied, and they left me to die. You sure Earth's the right place? She looked around, at the trees, the sky, the animals, at him. It's not the planet, she said. It's the person. Final line, ending hook for next possible story. As they walked back toward the cabin, Eli joked, So, what now? Thyra's eyes glowed just a little. I've never been free before. Let's see what that feels like. But far above them, in the blackness of space, and a new signal blinked awake. Someone else just learned she's alive, and they weren't coming to rescue her either.